Order. Can staff please read or take the roll?
Yes, I sure can, Chair. Jamie King,
Present.
Rick Hartman,
Present.
Rebecca Herring,
Present.
Braxton Linton,
Present.
Farley Cross,
Present.
Mark Robinson,
Present.
Chair Harold.
Thank you. First item up tonight is to adopt our agenda for the evening. Do we have a motion to adopt the agenda?
Motion to adopt the agenda. Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor of adopting the agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No? Okay. We have an agenda for the evening. Next item is approval of the minutes from our previous meeting on March 28th, 2023. If anybody's had the opportunity to review the minutes from the past meeting, and if so, do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
I move to approve the minutes from last meeting. That's all. Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No. Okay. Next item is our discussion item this evening. Can staff please read this item into the record?
Business discussion items 2023-350, SUB 22-00008, Finley Reserves Design Plat, the Department of Sustainable Development. The description: this petition is to review a design plat application for the Finley Reserve Residential Development. The recommendation from staff to the Development Review Board: approve petition SUB 22-00008, Finley Reserves Design Plat.
Thank you. And do we have a presentation this evening?
We do. Good evening, Chairman and members of the board. For the record, my name is Juan Castillo. I'm a planner with the Department of Sustainable Development. The item before you this evening is the design plat for Finley Woods Reserve. It's the first major part in their development process, if you will. So this is located right off of Southwest Williston Road, about a mile or so south of I-75. This property is currently vacant. It was annexed into the city back in 2012 and was given city land use and city zoning districts. Those zoning districts are shown here, but just really quickly, since it's like abbreviations, it's a residential low. You have mixed use office residential. Actually, let me backtrack a little bit. So the yellow portion of the property here, the land use is residential low with a transit zone of U2. The blue portion here is a mixed office residential land use with a zoning district of U4. And then lastly, the portion of the property that is adjacent to Southwest Williston Road has a land use of urban mixed use with a zoning district of U6. And so any development that occurs on the property currently would have to adhere to transit zoning districts regulations. The property is roughly about 194.97 acres in size, so fairly large property, and will primarily be developed for single-family detached homes, which I'll talk here a little bit more. So 3 things that staff primarily reviews when looking or reviewed while looking at this design plat. The first is making sure that it meets the criteria stated in our land development code under section 30-3.37. We also wanted to make sure that the development met our comprehensive plan as well as our land development code. So this is the development that is being proposed today. As I mentioned, the development is single-family detached homes that are being developed within the transit zone U2 section of the property. The main access to the development will be off of Southwest Williston Road, and this is the major main arterial road here. But the property will have access to the north part to Finley Woods development. To the south, it also has connections. Currently to the south, there's no existing development, and it is county lands, but in case there are any future developments, the connections will be there and available in order to connect. There are connections as well over to the west side of the property. And so, as I mentioned, the development will have to adhere to transit zone requirements, which, before I forget, there has been a question as to the traffic for the construction of the development. And the applicant has assured me that traffic will occur from Southwest Williston Road and not from the Finley Woods development. So I wanted to make sure to state that, because that has been some concerns from some of the neighbors living in that area. And so I mentioned that the properties will adhere to transit zone requirements. For U2, the transit zone requirements require that you provide a landscape zone, a sidewalk zone, and built-in frontage zone as far as the building placement. So when we're looking at the front area of these lots, we want to make sure that these zones are incorporated. The landscape zone is required to have 5 feet. Backtrack a little bit. So these roads here are all local streets. The property has 2 streets that we will consider storefront streets, and those have slightly different requirements as far as building placements is concerned. But for the most part, most of the houses will be required to meet a landscape zone of 5 feet, a sidewalk zone of 5 feet, or width of the sidewalk, and built-in building frontage zone of 5 feet as well. The density is 15 units per acre. The proposal will ultimately provide 684 lots, which would meet the requirement for the density stated in U2. And this is a cross-section of one of the local streets being proposed, meeting the transit zone requirements for landscape zone here, the sidewalk zones given 5 feet, and then the building frontage zone. Something to note, the original requirement is for 5 feet landscape zone, 5 feet sidewalk, and 5 feet building frontage. There is provision in our code that allows for some modification of that if the applicant is to provide additional landscape zone, in which case the applicant has done so. And so the setbacks have been amended a little bit in order to provide for that modification. So the applicant has provided 2 feet extra of landscape area, giving them 3 feet of building frontage zone extra. So that is incorporated into what you see here, as well as what you see here. This is the storefront cross-section of one of the storefront streets. Again, they're making use of that modification provision in our land development code to provide for extra landscape zone in exchange for modifications to the setback, and that's shown here, right here. Am I going back? There it goes. So as I stated, the total units, the total lots being provided is 684. The project is phased in three phases. As you can see here, phase 1 is over to the north side, making use of the primary road, which will service the construction of that phase 1. Then they're going to come over here to phase 2, and lastly, the western side of the property will be phase 3. And as I stated earlier, again, we do look for making sure that the proposal for the design plan meets the review criteria in our land development code. Staff is convinced that those review criteria have been met. Our comprehensive plan has been met, and I go into detail in my report, but if you have any questions concerning that, I am able to answer that as well. And compliance with the land development code. I keep forgetting that you guys can't see that bit here. But compliance with the land development code is also stated in my report, but I can go over any questions that you may have there. And with that, I thank you for your time. The applicant is here as well, and I believe they have a presentation to show before you, but I am available for any questions that you may have. Mr. Martin, oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, thank you. First of all, thank you very much for your presentation, Mr. Castillo. Mr. Robinson, yes.
I wanted to confirm, did you say that the zoning was
U2 when it was annexed in 2012?
Thank you for the opportunity to clarify that. No, so prior to the annexation, the property was vacant and it had an agricultural zoning. After the annexation, the city gave it U2 zoning with U4 in that blue section in between the U6 and the U2, and then adjacent to the Southwest Williston Road, gave it that U6 zoning district. So that's all city
It
zone.
changed in 2012.
Right, 2022,
2022 or 2012?
right, last year, 2022.
Okay.
Right.
Any other questions from the board? Mr. Castillo, I do have a quick question. It looked like the area, you said the area directly south of the property was still currently county land, is that correct?
Correct,
And what about the area directly west of the property? Is that also still county land?
correct.
Okay, the area directly north of Finley Woods area, is that part of the city?
Correct. There's like the Finley Woods development is part of the city, or north and west of that is part of the county.
Okay, so just the only adjacent property that is currently, or that is part of the city in addition to the subject property is just that Finley Woods area directly to the north?
Correct.
Okay. That was the only question I had. Thank you very much. It was a very thorough presentation. I appreciate it.
Sure, my pleasure.
Any other questions from the board? Okay. Does the applicant have a presentation as well?
Good evening, Mr. Chair, board members. Ryan Thompson with CHW, agent for the applicant. I do have a presentation. It's very similar to Mr. Castillo's. I don't know that there's additional information that I can add. I just wanted to introduce myself and let you know that I'm available for questions. This property was brought in as a second phase, if you will, to Finley Woods with the intent to continue that subdivision, as you could tell from the connections to the north to Finley Woods as well as to Williston Road. We went through the process of annexing the property and working with the city commission on what would be appropriate zoning and future land use for that property for the intended intent. So with that, I don't want to go through all the same information Mr. Castillo has. If you have any information, I'm happy to answer questions.
Thank you, I'm sorry, Mr. Thompson, is that correct? Okay.
Correct.
I'm bad with names, so I want to make sure I get that correct. Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Does the board have any questions for the applicant?
I have a question. Yeah, I saw online that there was a neighborhood workshop about this time last year. So what has happened between the past year as far as kind of delays from the project go?
It just takes time. It takes time to review the property for the site plan and preparing those documents to engineer the property to make sure that the drainage is appropriate, that the roads are designed correctly, lots, layouts, and things of that nature. So it's a process that we go through. We work with city staff closely to make sure a design plat's appropriate for the area and consistent with the code.
Any other questions?
Yeah,
No.
question.
Does that appropriately answer your question?
Yeah, I was just curious because your original intended timeline was September of last year, which is, now about 4 or 5 months ago. But if it's just regular delays, I was wondering if maybe there was something deeper there that was brought up or.
No, nothing in particular.
I have a question on phasing. So, the concern before, as far as traffic goes, we're having traffic come in from Southwest Williston to avoid disruption to that Finley Reserve neighborhood that's already existent. if the phasing is going from outwards towards 75, when you're doing phase 2, or, I guess phase 3 is more of the concern. Where's the traffic going to go from there, not to disturb phase 1 and 2?
Well, it'll be, so with phase 1, there will be a connection to Finley Woods. That'll be for public traffic. There'll be a whole road from Williston Road that will be for construction traffic, heavy trucks that we wouldn't want on those paved roads. As phase 2 comes in, then the connection to Williston Road will be paved, and then phase 3 will be to the south, and that'll use both Williston Road and Finley Woods as appropriate.
Okay.
Any other questions from the board for the applicant? I have a question, Mr. Thompson. It looked like on at least the images that we saw from Mr. Castillo that the only section currently under development or planned development is just the U2 section, or the U2 zone. Are there any plans for what will go into the U4 or U6 zones, the mixed office residential zone and the other zone?
We've had some other ideas. Again, this was initiated and directed by the developer of Finley Woods. So his primary intent is home construction. So that has been our focus. We have worked with a couple other developers to look at fits on the U4 and U6 area. Nothing to the extent of this, obviously, but hopefully shortly there'll be some, multifamily or even non-residential in the future.
Any,
And I'm sorry, that would be in phase 3 probably, or phase 2?
Phase 1, 2, and 3 would be all residential homes. So it'd be future phases. And they could go simultaneously, but this is the one that we've gotten to the point for approval on the design plat.
Gotcha.
any other questions from the board for the applicant? All right, thank you, Mr. Thompson.
Thank you very much.
Is there anybody from the public who would like to speak about this item?
Thank you.
I'm sorry, sir. Can you introduce yourself, please, first?
Khalid Blount. Is that sufficient, just name?
Yeah. Thank you.
If our community was doing what's necessary to unwind the damage of our past ills in our siting of housing pattern, we would hope to see in this development about 137 affordable units. And even as I ask that question, I'm pretty sure the question is going to be the usual, we haven't decided the price points yet, this is too early a planning stage, and other answers that all mean absolutely not. But I do want to ask that question. Will there be any affordable or workforce units in this development?
Thank you, sir. And would the applicant like to address that question?
Yes, Mr. Chair. I respect Mr. Blunt's advocacy for affordable housing. In this development in particular, there will be market rate housing. We are working on other projects that we hope to bring before the city. There's two in particular that we're working on right now for affordable housing. They're closer to the city and services that could support such type housing. But this, with the particular developer and the location of the housing, it's not been something we feel is appropriate for this location.
Thanks, sir. Is there anybody else from the public? Yes, sir.
My name is Maxie Hicks, and I'm a property owner in that area. I'm at 5333 Southwest 62nd Avenue, which would be on the road of the Finley Wood development. And I have some questions for the developer or for the board. And I just want to know, I go to that property, I go to my property, and I've used it, my family have used it agriculturally for a number of years. And in the past 6 months, the traffic in that area is just blown up. I mean, it's fast paced. And I want to know if the developer or the board has considered or put in its plans something to address the traffic area or the traffic concerns, because that's a 2-lane road. You're going to have trucks on there. You're going to have buses, school buses. Has that been addressed? Has the traffic issue been addressed on that road, 62nd Avenue? And that property where I'm at, it's zoned for agriculture. Put in a single family site in there is going to have some impact or great impact on the property value that my family owned for quite a while. And we like to keep it. We like to keep it agriculture. I know the development that you all have there now is single family, but I'm right across from that. Me and others are right across from that. So we're concerned about the property value. Also, too, the change in zoning code. We're concerned with that when you bring in a single family, you're gonna, it's just the way progress is. You're gonna have to bring in supporting businesses to keep that family viable. That's just progress. They're just not going to put a development there and that's it. So I wanted to know if the board is looking at that, looking at the impact of the surrounding businesses that are going to be associating with that single family development. And what services? I have yet to hear anything from the developer about the services that they may be offering as far as RTS buses, how they're going to get there. I mean, if they're just going to use Archer Road, or are they going to be using that street that I have property on, 62nd Avenue? What other businesses or what other services they're going to be offering in that area that may or possibly impact property owners like myself. I'm presently on Clay Electric. And I suspect Finley would, that development, will be using GRU type services. Will it be sewage systems that are going in there? RTS services? Would it be Cox Cable services going in there? What are those services that are going to be near me that may impact the land that I own now and in the future?
Thank you, sir. I appreciate you and appreciate your comments and appreciate you raising those concerns. I don't know that the board is able to address a lot of those. I can ask Mr. Castillo, do you know anything about the road developments or any possible changes to the roads in that area, for example, in the ingress and egress to those subdivisions?
For the record, Juan, more than what that has been stated, I know that when the development comes through, this is right now the design plat portion. When development comes through, there's a more specific traffic analysis that's taken. And as far as services associated to the property, there is services available to that property in the form of, I believe though that it will be Clay Power, but we do have city sewer and water available to that.
Thank you. And I don't know, on behalf of the applicant, do you have any other comments that you're able to address any of those concerns that have been raised?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As far as traffic, we have done a traffic study. We have looked at intersections around the property. Having the connection to Williston Road will help a lot with that traffic. And then also having commercial as a component of this development as it fully builds out will help capture a lot of that need to leave the property for your daily needs. So a lot of that internal capture will occur. That's the idea. And I apologize for not knowing the particulars of what traffic improvements will be made. Again, as Mr. Castillo mentioned, as we get into construction plans, we will do more of a study and have that clearly defined. Then as far as the zoning, so I wasn't quite sure what his concern was, and I apologize, but the property will, the zoning will not change anything on his property in particular. It's simply subject to the subject property. That we have designed the property to have an extensive amount of buffer and stormwater around the perimeter of the property, so I think that'll help. And then as far as services, Clay Electric has a utility service area that includes this property, and that will not change. And as Mr. Castillo mentioned, it would be on GRU water and sewer.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Is there any other people from the public that wish to comment on this item? All right, at this time, we will close the item and open it up for board discussion. Is there anybody that has any comments about this item?
I guess I have more of like a question maybe. So in the plotting process, right, we're accepting, if we accept this plat, then they can move forward to go with like a true development plan of, you know, what they're offering, the houses, etc. But in this plat, they also need to outline what amenities that they're going to have. And I think it was a really good point brought up by the public that there isn't. It's just going to be a continued taxation on what's already around in that area, which is, I would say, reaching a certain level of capacity, especially at that southern tip of the city. So if we accept it like this, then I don't know, there's like no promise to further develop, right? Like it's always a potential for the commercial aspect of it. Right now it is purely just residential. There's no, I mean, it all looks like plats for, you know, residential homes. There's no clubhouse, there's no additional amenities that would have been listed here in this plat. So I guess it just kind of brings me pause. But then again, it's where in the process would that end up getting worked out? And like, do you deny this option when you have the ability to kind of be like, well, they haven't fully come to like, this isn't the full vision. Like it's a very, very, very preliminary kind of vision, but pre-plotting where all those aspects of stuff. So I don't know, like if we were to deny it, what would happen, or if we should wait further in the process, I guess is more of a.
Mr. Castillo?
If I may, and just to, if it helps the board, so design plats normally are in many ways, I want to say broad in general. We know that this particular project has utilities and services available to it. When this, again, this is kind of like that first step into further review and further development, figuring out, if you will. When that moves forward, staff, of course, helps with the applicant to further crystallize is the words that come into mind, but to basically bring into more focus what the available services look like and how they would be meeting the needs of the overall area. If there's any externalities that need mitigating, we would be able to mitigate that a bit further. But as of right now, the view of this is fairly broad. We just want to make sure that what they're proposing is meeting our, again, our land development code, our comprehensive plan, and making sure that the reviews found within the criteria of our land development code concerning the design plat review criteria are met.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Robinson.
Just to kind of reiterate what she said, I think it's a very good question to ask. You know, if you've been on 62nd, you know, we want to make sure it's a smart development as it goes through, because if you try to turn on that road or off that road, it's bad now, and you add another 680, you know, local residences right there. It just definitely, you know, needs to be a part of the design. So we're trusting that that's going to be a smart, you know, thoughtful plan as it moves forward.
I'm sorry, just to piggyback on what you were saying, Mark. The staff, in their presentation, it does say this proposal is consistent with the city's comp plan with language designed to encourage active and livable mixed-use development within a residential component. I guess that's what we're missing. We're not seeing any of the mixed use. We're just seeing the residential piece, which I guess I understand at this stage. Maybe that's all they're required to yeah. Is it okay for?
Yeah. If you can introduce yourself, please, sir.
And if the production staff could put the PowerPoint back up there. Thank you. My name is Jerry Diedenbach, Executive Vice President, CHW Professional Consultants. I'm a professional land planner with 32 years experience, and so most of you have seen me here, and some of you see me quite frequently. I heard some of the questions you're asking in there, and I think I can get to a concise point of answer for all of you. The process takes a long time, and so in 2021, when we initiated an annexation of a contiguous land area to the property, the City Commission decided at that point in time to bring it into the municipality and also place land use and zoning on there. And they placed specifically transect zoning on there, which is the more urban core type zoning. And so with the approval of the annexation and then the land use on it, they set the pattern of how the development would actually transpire over time. The design plat is the portion of the process that deals specifically with the platting of the single family real estate. So the urban components that you'll see in a second when I show you the land use and zoning map are a little bit clearer. This portion is for the single family detached residential units on here. So specifically, you know, I wanted to talk about this just for a second. You know, if you all have driven this corridor out here, you know that the Veterans Administration Hospital has done a tremendous expansion here. And so some of this development is in response directly to the expansion of healthcare services here in southwest Gainesville. That's why this was annexed into the city. And you see this green line is now the city limits of here. The residential neighborhood portion of the property will be the westerly portion of the property, and the mixed-use portion and commercial will increase in intensity as it moves toward the road. So the reason that you're only seeing the design plat is because this is the only portion of the property that likely will have platting on it. The portions of the project here where they might contain multifamily housing, workforce housing, affordable housing, Ali, Mr. Blunt, they would occur not with platting, but they would occur through site plan development processes. So it becomes a little clearer when you look at this that Finley has always been designed to connect and interconnect in here. And as Ryan talked about building a haul road to build this development, the residential component will connect in from the north, so you'll have neighborhood connecting to neighborhood. But with the gradation of lower density, then mixed use, then urban mixed use, followed by higher intensity land use, these portions won't have platting on them. They'll have site plans that the city will process. So if an apartment or housing complex goes in here, you wouldn't see that. What you are reviewing today is the precursor of a three-step process. A design plat lays out the geometry, and I actually have a better picture. Mr. Castillo had a good picture, but I drew this one while we were meeting with our client. This is the stormwater system that wraps the rural component of the residential neighborhood. So you see it has a green buffer around it because we know that there are agricultural properties to the south. This is in the county, and it is abutting the growth management line of Alachua County. These are rural properties here, and so we wanted to surround the property with a more or less green buffer. The amenity center, ma'am, that you spoke of a moment ago, is designed right here. So that is designed to be kind of central to this core of the residential lots. And then along these areas here where you see the dividing line, this is where you would likely see in the future site plans for multifamily housing, townhomes, or office live-work type, because as you move out here towards Williston Road, State Road 121, you wouldn't have plats in here. You would have site plans. And as we move along here, we will continue to do traffic impact analyses, TIAs as we call them, to look at the specific loadings and judge what needs to happen. You all know that 62nd here, which is we call Dogleg Road here, has currently a signal here. That will be continued to be analyzed as we loop and connect utilities through here so that as these pieces mature in the future, kind of think of it like, you all know 43rd Street and 16th Boulevard, 23rd. You've got residential and neighborhoods that wrap that core like where a Publix is. This has that same sort of intensity. So while the residents come on, to this gentleman's point, services will occur. You'll have an amenity center here for the neighbors. Then you'll have probably shopping, offices, doctor, dentist, pediatrician, and type of professional uses here with more retail here. So it will actually follow a city transect in the overall development program. Does that help a little bit?
Very helpful.
Okay, thank you all.
Thank you, sir. Any other comments from the board about this proposed development? I was just going to comment. First of all, that it's a very helpful presentation, and I do appreciate you kind of laying out more of the steps of the process. I do share some of the concerns that you shared, sir, about the increased traffic along 62nd Avenue, because while many of the vehicles will probably exit out onto Williston Road and wouldn't necessarily pass by your property, there would be certainly increased traffic on 62nd headed towards Archer Road. And so I appreciate your concerns that you have about that. I don't know that there's anything that we as a board can do to address that concern when we're looking at that development, but I do think that that those are valid concerns that you have, sir, because I foresee there being increased traffic on 62nd. I don't know how that would be avoided with that development coming in. Did you have anything else that you'd like to add, sir?
Yes, specifically since you brought that up. In Finley Woods, it seems like a while ago, but Finley Woods actually is here on this northern portion here. It has stub roads designed in it at the northern portion of Finley Woods to connect up to the future development of this. And if you know your geography, here is Archer Road and I-75. There is currently the construction of a new hospital here. So ultimately, sir, there will be connections from the north side of this that will go up and also this way to provide additional roads up to the other state road 24. So it's all part of the larger planning vision of the city as well as the county, because this is the county and the city largely extends like here on Archer Road. So there are additional paths north, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, sir. Are there any other comments, questions, items of discussion from the board? And hearing, if there are none, would anybody like to make a motion on this item?
I actually do have a question. I'm sorry. Okay, so, and this might be more towards our planner, but do we have to approve just the platting separate from the site plans, or is there a requirement that we would say we want to review it all and accept all of it and not piecemealed? Like, I can approve a plat, but if I never get the true developments further, then are we really achieving comprehensive plan goals?
So, as Mr. Diedenbach has expressed, what's before you today is the design plat. That is part of the process for the residential development. So in this particular case, you would be reviewing the design plat. Further developments, non-residential developments over to the east part of this property would not be part of the design
They're
plat.
all separate, so
Right.
they would all, like, not necessarily have to go in a particular order, but they would all be held separately anyway. So we
Right.
wouldn't be able to see the entire picture no matter what.
You would, I mean, you can see an entire picture per se, but as far as your review would be for the design plat for this right here.
So if I was like, well, I only want to approve this, is if I'm guaranteed to have affordable housing in my site plan for my multifamily, I wouldn't be able to have that restriction because I'm approving them separately.
I can add, also broadcast this. Give me the microphone, thank you. So, yes, to clarify, again, Brittany McMullen, Planning Department. So they are all separate processes. Some of the development plans that will come in the future, you may see and review if they're considered major development plans. This is one of the things that the commission changed in the Land Development Code last year, was to require major plans to come before this board for review. So that would be for the multifamily, if it's 50 units and above, I think it's either 50 or 51 and more units, you will actually see those for review now, as well as there's certain thresholds for non-residential development as well. But they are all separate processes, so we don't really have a process in the code that would allow us to look at this entire area as one application and sort of place any restrictions on one area that's not subject to review as part of another area, if that makes sense. So they are reviewed separately, and you wouldn't be able to put conditions on one property that relate to another property.
That's what I was thinking.
Thank you. Any other items of discussion or additional points of clarification that anybody would like to bring up? All right, hearing none. At this point, would anybody like to make a motion on this item?
Sure, I'll make a motion. I'd like to recommend that the board approve the design plat for Finley Reserve petition SUB 22-000008.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approving this proposal, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, that motion carries. At this time, we will move forward. The next item on the agenda is public comment. Any other members of the public that would wish to comment before the board? Okay. Next item, member comment. Any members of the board wish to add anything? Hearing none. All right, our next meeting date, it says May 25th on the agenda. Is it actually May 23rd? Okay, I just wanted to make sure we're not moving to Thursdays. We're holding steady with our Tuesday night meetings. All right, would anybody like to make a motion to adjourn? All right, we have a motion. We have a second. All in favor of adjournment, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No. We're adjourned.